Welcome to the Golf Report podcast. I'm here with CC McMahan, the head women's golf coach at the University of North Carolina, Charlotte. Her team is coming off a victory by 11 at the Golfweek Fall Challenge. Thanks for your time, coach, and how are you doing today?
Yeah, doing great. We're kind of in between a couple tournaments right now. We head out Saturday to our next tournament out in Vail, Colorado, which the girls are really excited about. It's our first time going out west in a couple years, so we'll be eager to go to the mountains and see a new challenge.
Yeah, we'll definitely talk about your next tournament in Colorado, but your team is just coming off a victory by 11 at the Golfweek Fall Challenge in South Carolina. Your team shot 7 under par. Let's just get into it. Your team started out, very good, shot 273. You had a 5 under 66 by Teen, and then 67 by Caroline, and a 69, I believe, by Pinky. Just tell me about, your team's performance and what it was like, to see your team just get such a great, start. Your team, started with 11 under 273, and it was the second best 18-hole score in tournament history. So what was it like not only for your team to play well, but to get off to such a great start?
Yeah, it was I'm not going to say unexpected because we know that low rounds are capable from our players, but we intentionally kind of set up our qualifying rounds really challenging. And so we
Okay.
hadn't had a team round under par here in Charlotte within our qualifying rounds all season. And so to have such a special round out of the gates was just like a great start. I mean, it was one of those where we all came in and I was like, what did y'all eat this morning? Because in a sense, we hadn't had the whole group play that well all fall or since we started. We'd had players that had had under par rounds, but just not like four solid qualifying rounds. And so it was really neat, really special to after the round kind of recap with each other and have Caroline and Ting specifically share about like what was going on throughout the round today and was really fun to hear both of them say like they never really thought about their score. They just were focusing on each shot. And like we talk a lot about the flow, or golf psychology talks about being in the flow or being in the zone. And hearing them talk, they just felt like there wasn't any distractions. There wasn't like the, hey, you're 3 under, hey, you're 4 under in the back of their mind. Like they just were really able to quiet the noise and just eliminate distractions, kind of play with tunnel vision. And so it was really, really neat to see both of them have their college best rounds at the same time. Certainly got us off to the right start.
Yeah.
So it was definitely exciting. And then of course, Pinky, she's had great rounds all
Yeah.
summer and she would have loved to have been one of those 4 or 5 under rounds, but to have still had a round in the 60s, I think showed her that she was still in contention to be there at the end of the tournament with the title too. So it was really fun and exciting to see the whole team get off to a good start. I think that's where a year ago we didn't necessarily have that. We had a couple players at the top, and then there was kind of a gap of where were the other two rounds going to come from, or would we get it to work? And so I think our preparation for this season was really bringing in some depth, giving us multiple players who could shoot under par, not just one or two, and then have the rest kind of floating between 75 and 78. Now we believe we've got like a 1 through 6 or 7 that really can be around par every day, which we hope will get us through to where we want to go at the end of the season.
Yeah. So I believe I heard you say this after your team's victory, but your team is mostly, obviously Pinky's your best players. You made it to regionals as an individual last year. So to see other players like, Ting, Tien, finished tied for fourth individually, and then you also had like Caroline, shot an under par round,
Yeah.
in round one. Just what was it like to see other players, outside of Pinky have a, good performance, at, your recent tournament?
I think for all of us, it just gives a ton of belief that any player on our team on any given day is going to be the best niner. And I think kind of just recapping like last year, I don't think we felt that. We knew that it was going to be Pinky every round leading the team. And so I think for her as well, she feels a little bit of that burden lifted. Like she doesn't always have to be going super low to make up for maybe the shots that the rest of the team might give away. She knows that we've got a really strong support system top to bottom that that any player on our team can be at par or better and give us those rounds that are really special. So on my end as the coach, it's really fun to see different players step up, and it's been, I think, especially for Caroline and Ting, seeing where they've come from Caroline 2 years ago till now, and Ting her freshman year till now, just the belief system or the belief in themselves. Like they were kind of trying to find how good are they or what do they need to work on over the last couple years, and to see both of them put in that hard work over the summer and especially over the last few weeks starting the season. It's really cool to see that payoff. And I think that their belief now goes from, okay, like I might be a counting score to, okay, now I can be an under par score, and really moving the team forward. And I think just knowing that it's really exciting for what our team can accomplish this year.
Yeah, so your team had, as I mentioned, shot 11 under 273, second best, 18-hole score in tournament history for round one. But then how did your team, because, golf, obviously it's a cliche, but it's true, every day is different. And after
Yeah.
the first round, you still had two more days and, two more rounds to play. So how did your team, navigate, you played such a good first round, but stay focused and just, continue, playing well to get the victory. How did you stay focused after, such a great first round?
Yeah, yeah. And I'll just share a little bit too. Like it was the second best tournament round, but for our young program, the Charlotte women's golf team's only been around about 9 seasons. That was the
Okay.
best 18-hole round by 3 shots for any Charlotte women's golf round. So it was really special, I think, for our team to set that record in-house of having the best 18-hole round. But it's true, yeah, like it's not finished on day one. And there were actually a couple of our players that really wanted to get out and practice. But it was in a very strong storm from pretty much the time we ended all the way up until like 4 or 5 o'clock. Like the teams that were still out on the golf course were having to come off the course, get back out, off the course, come back out because of the weather. So, we weren't probably able to do exactly what we wanted after the round to prepare for the next day, but something that I'm a big proponent of is like we can't focus on what we can't control. And if we had only dwelt on, oh, we can't go out and hit the range now, we probably would have had a slightly more negative outlook on what we could accomplish the next day. But we just went back to the condo where we were staying, and some of the girls did some study hall, and some of the girls watched a movie, and we just kind of tried to keep our mind away from having that big of a lead. Like just sometimes in golf, you got to check out and then know when to turn it back on. And so when we were going through our books the night before, we made it very clear, like we weren't trying to go shoot 11 under the second day. We knew the weather was going to turn. We knew the golf course was going to play different. And so we tried to just keep our players going one shot at a time. And the weather really did change. I mean, it went from like 80 on Monday to 65 and a really strong wind on days two
Oh,
and
wow.
three. We knew the golf course was going to play much different. And so we talked a little bit through, like, from a strategy standpoint, how we were going to approach some different tee shots that maybe went from one club to a club less or a club more. But really just tried to keep it focused on, like, let's go after what we can control. We can control the decisions we make on the golf course. We can't control the outcomes. And so, it, you only have to count four, which I'm really grateful for because Caroline did have a little bit of a slip up in the second round after her great first round. Um, but that's what I think is really special about this team, is that we do have a team that we can rely on to have four scores counting. Like even if one person is struggling, they know that the rest of the team's going to have their back and be able to put four good scores together. So to still be able to put together, I think it was a 2-over round in round two. Kept us in position, especially knowing that the rest of the golf course also kind of struggled that day.
Yeah. Yeah, I really like that perspective, coach. You mentioned control the controllables because you can't control things like, the weather or any other external factors that, occur. So really like that perspective. For my next, two-part question, I wanted to, get your perspective. Your first tournament was at Clemson. It was a one-day, 36-hole event. Your team finished third. So what were the takeaways from, your first tournament of the season at Clemson, and just, what you take away and what led you to, improving and getting the victory, at the Golfweek Fall Challenge.
We had taken our team there last fall, so most of our returners knew the course at Clemson, and so we were able in our qualifying to really set up the golf course as best as we could to have similar clubs in and feel as prepared as we could for that. I think something that we took away from just the general performance that week is we probably didn't make enough birdies. Our team's kind of focusing this year on like the Tiger 5 stats. So looking at like par 5 scoring, eliminating double bogeys, eliminating three putts. Like we call them no double chips. I think Tigers is more like make sure you do the easy up and downs. And then the last one is not making bogey with a 9 iron in your hand. So we kind of looked at those and we looked at when we had a 9 iron in our hand, we were making some more bogeys than we would have liked, but we also didn't have as many birdies as we would have wanted that week. So we really focused on our putting from Clemson until Caledonia and like knowing that the greens can be pretty grainy down there on the beach area. Just really worked on like playing enough break and seeing the ball go in the hole. And I think that really made a big difference. In a field of 20, I don't think we were the highest under par team, but we were up there pretty close. And I think I think we were second in the par 5 scoring category, maybe second or third. So those couple key metrics are what we're looking at this season over time to see how we can improve. But specifically from that week to this week, we really focused on our putting and trying to make more birdies.
Yeah, I like that. I like especially like your perspective of trying to eliminate the mistakes you can, and if you make a mistake, hopefully it's not like a double. Hopefully it's just just a regular bogey, so it's not too bad, and you can come back from that. But coach, just
Yeah.
tell me to recap from the Golf Week Fall Challenge. Just tell me, what does this victory mean for you as head coach and for your team, and just how do you see your team, building on this victory moving forward as you play in Colorado's tournament starting on Monday, and then you go to Tennessee and Asheville to finish out your fall season. Just how do you see your team, building on your recent victory going forward?
It's of course exciting. Everyone on this team hadn't had a team victory yet where they were in the lineup. A couple of our returners had maybe played in one their freshman year, but it was our home event. So like they were maybe playing as an individual. So for us as a group to get that first win together was really, really a sweet moment. And it was one of our players' birthdays as well. So it was just kind of like a very fun
Wow.
day,
Mhm.
capped off a really neat trip. And really we never focused on winning that week. I mean, of course you have those goals in the back of your mind, but we don't try to say like we have to win tomorrow. Here's what we're going to do to win tomorrow. It goes back to controlling what we can control. And if we do those things, the outcome's going to take care of itself. So definitely was special. As I was going through this interview process, I looked at like what do we need? What do our metrics need to be? What do we need to accomplish this season to hopefully get inside the top 60? Like that's about where I think history says the at-large bid number is. And so we looked at having at least two, but being in contention for 3 wins throughout the season. Like that was something that I thought if we can accomplish that by the end of the year, we should be pretty close to the number. Having a few separate from that top fives in good tournaments as well, I think is going to position us at the end of the season to have enough points to be close to that top 60 number. But knowing that we can accomplish this, I think gives us the belief that that's going to happen. Anytime you can get an early win, it's then easy to sort of call back those memories or call back those performances when you are in the crunch zone of maybe pursuing a leader. Like it was interesting this week, we were in the wire to wire situation. So we had that lead the first day and kept it for the second and the final round. And knowing that so many other teams on the golf course were going really low that final round, I kind of independently last week was looking at what didn't we do that other teams were doing to go so low, and it was make a lot of birdies. But so, recognizing that so that if we are in that situation again, we can kind of maybe change our preparation of the next day or maybe change our mindset to perform a little better down the stretch whenever we need to. And I think we're gonna look back to this tournament that we had at Caledonia to bring back that belief that accomplishing these types of things are what we're capable of this year. So yeah, we head to Colorado this weekend, which is really exciting. It's been probably 8 years since I was a part of a team there, coaching as an assistant coach. It's one of the most beautiful golf courses in the country that we play at. The elevation's at about like 7,500 feet. So the ball is going to go a lot farther, which is going to be a new concept for many of our players that have never played in that kind of elevation before. So I've been hard at work, like researching a ratio to figure out like how much farther is the ball going to go while we're there, and try to be one of the more prepared teams as best we can. But ultimately, we just got to play our best, and I think that will take care of itself. And then, of course, Tennessee is a closer tournament for us than Colorado, and it was somewhere we played last year, so we're going to have a little bit of experience in knowing what we need to work on. Like their greens, they've got kind of a lot of elevation change as well. So hopefully the tournament in Colorado is going to give us a little help to be able to call back those skills. And Asheville the same. It's up in the mountains as well. So I think we're going to have a lot of the same golf courses as we finish up. I think they're all bent grass greens, which is a little rare for here in Charlotte, but we do have a few courses that we can play at here that have bent grass to get a little bit more preparation on that for the rest of our season. So we're excited, and can't wait to see what this team does to finish out the fall.
Yeah, definitely. So, Coach, I wanted to talk about your roster because you have a very, I would say, very interesting roster. You have, local players even from North Carolina, like, BB and Caroline. But then you also have, a lot of international players, from all different places like England and Sweden, Thailand, Australia, Germany, just to name some. So, what has it been like? You're in your first season as head coach. You're not new to Charlotte. You were the assistant coach, which we'll talk about. But just what is it like, having players from all different, not even different states, but different, countries, different backgrounds, and just bringing them together and, having the success like you did in your past tournament. Just what has it been like, having a team of, mostly international players from different countries?
Yeah, I think it's really special to see how our team has come together to like honor the differences in each other. And I've always thought it really important that wherever you are coaching, that you have a contingency from that area. Like it just when you do have so many international players, when someone's from close by who can help you like know what to buy at the grocery store or how to navigate Target for the first time, like it's just something that somebody who's from around close can really help wherever you are feel like home for someone that is really far away. And so certainly BB and even Mia's from close by South Carolina, and Caroline Johnson and her family are from the Charlotte area. They've really like adopted the whole Charlotte group as family. We have some dinners at their house every now and then, and they said they've got like nine more daughters than they had a couple years ago. So they've helped make Charlotte feel like home. And I think that's really important when we think about our international players. Like you are moving your life for 4 years. And so to have not only your school that feels like home, but to have a team that feels like family is something that's really important for us. We really try to cultivate that kind of experience for all of our players that come play here. That was important for Coach Ryan Ashburn Cody, who was here before this summer, and something that I'll continue to breathe into our program as long as I'm here. But yeah, I mean, to be a competitive program at our level, you got to look for the best players in the world too. Like if we were to just get players from North Carolina, at this point, we might not be very competitive just because where college golf is going, you're seeing so many other teams bring in players from all around the world. And so for us, like we're not super partial to any one part. I think we come from 4 different continents. And so, we're really just trying to bring in the right fit. And I've learned that too. Like, it's not about bringing in the best players, it's about bringing in the right players. And so, through that recruiting process, you're asking the questions of, what do you look for in a teammate and what do you look for in your coaches? And really see, does that person align with the team that we have here, with the coaching style that we have? And do we really see them being a fit at Charlotte? Do we see them moving the needle forward for us, or would they not? And so those are the questions like right now we're working through with the class of 2027 that we've just been able to start talking with. But like being the right fit is really important for us, no matter where you're from. And so being in such a cool city, or being in such a city that has a really strong international presence, I think every player that comes kind of finds something that reminds them of home here. Like you can kind of find anything. Just this past Sunday, there was a Asian food festival in town, so a lot of our or almost all of our team went, but it was very much like a home cooked meal type feel for some of our Asian players that were looking forward to having some authentic cuisine. But like you can get that kind of experience here in Charlotte because there is really something to offer everyone if they come here. So it's a city that we feel like feels like home, and we've really tried to make a program that no matter where you're from, it feels like home.
Yeah. So how, particularly for your international players, how do you feel like, obviously it's different for each player, but how do you feel, how have you seen, for your international players, particularly, the transition process been, have you seen that it's pretty difficult, that they, miss home, because it could be difficult, going across the country or across the world,
Of the
going to
world,
another
yeah.
country and attending
Yeah.
school? Do you see that the transition process, not only to the golf team, but to, academics, social life, and, just attending UNC Charlotte? Do you see that transition process can be difficult, particularly for the international players?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, even like the online systems that our universities use are super different. Like Canvas is something they've never experienced before, where some like high schools in the US are using that already. So there's definitely a learning curve. Some of them, if they come in with English as a second language, sometimes it's even a language barrier of like we might say something that they, have been taught means something, but then like in a slang way or in a more casual way, it means something else for us. So it takes a little bit of time to make sure that they are fully understanding, being in America and what that's like. But I think that our support staff has been a big help with that. Like we've got an academic support person, Mark Verberg, who's really helpful for getting the academic piece put together for our new students. And he also has a daughter who plays golf, so he's very invested in our teams, both our men's and women's teams, given his affinity for golf. And so I think we really do outside of our team as well have a support staff that is there to make sure each player does feel like not super overwhelmed. Like of course college is going to be a little overwhelming no matter if you're from 40 minutes down the road or a 4 hour flight, um but I would say, yeah, it is different for each person. Like some of our players have come in and it's been pretty easy. Some others, it's taken a little extra time and a little more, maybe walking them through like customary things of, you know, how to interact with new people. It's just like kind of a different, when you come from a different culture, it can be, you might assume one thing and really it doesn't mean that way here. It might not mean that somebody meant it to be that way. So, it definitely takes a little extra time, but it's worth that extra time to make sure that the understanding is there, that they feel like really safe and comfortable and feel like they're supported.
Yeah. So I wanted to talk a little about your background, Coach. You grew up in a family, where sports were just integral, part of your life. Your father right now is the CEO, I believe, of the Spurs. You did a lot, with the Spurs and other, things at sports. Your mom played on the LPGA tour, and then your brother played basketball at the University of Kansas. So you're from San Antonio. Just tell me a little about, your start in golf, just how you got started playing golf and just growing up in San Antonio for you.
I actually didn't pick up golf until quite late, and
Okay.
my dad being in basketball was the first love for both my brother and I, and so I played that a lot quite competitively growing up. But then in high school, like I had a friend who was trying to get a golf team started, so I was like, sure, I'll start golf. And I think it was a moment my mom was really proud because she probably thought none of us were ever going to pick up golf. And then when I decided to do it, she never like inserted herself too much. She really let it be my journey, which was really fun. But the more competitive I got at it, the more that I was asking her for her advice and asking her for her help in the decision making and stuff. So she was really an early influence for me. My coach from back home, Brian Gathright, is still an influence to me. Like I call him all the time of, hey, can you help me, work through this with one of my players, or what do you think about this? What do you think about this recruit? And so he continues to be a mentor to me and really someone I lean on a lot in my golf. But I really wasn't sure if I'd be good enough at the time that I started college to play anywhere. And so as far as my golf goes, like I was reaching out to schools and I wasn't really getting a ton of interest, except for from College of Charleston, which I ended up going to. And we had some family friends in that area, and I never thought I'd go that far or really go to South Carolina, anywhere in South Carolina. But when I went and visited, the city was great. I really appreciated that they were hosting as many tournaments as they did. And when I was talking with Jamie Futrell, the coach there, he said that to me. He said, if you come here every time we host, you'll get to play, and it might not be in the lineup, but you'll play as an individual. And he said that experience is going to get you ready for when you are shooting the scores to know how you like to be ready to go compete in the lineup. And so it took me a while. I think the first time I played in the lineup was my second year there, but then I really wasn't in the lineup until my last year, like consistently. And I have no doubt that the experience that I had there, the experiences that I got to play there, helped me be ready for when my golf game was at a level to contribute to the team. And so for me, getting into this role in Charlotte, my goal is to start hosting some more tournaments. I think that's an invaluable opportunity for our whole roster to get to compete. But we also just have such good golf in Charlotte. Like I want to showcase a lot of the places that we can play out here and really give other schools a chance to come and play some great golf courses in the area. So hopefully over the next couple of years, you'll see us hosting both in the fall and the spring. But of course, that'll be up to the scheduling and up to the courses if they'll allow that. But that's definitely my goal, bring some golf hosting back to Charlotte.
Oh, that's great that you want to host because I know that, I've been around, college coaches. I know that can be a lot, hosting and having your coaching duties, but that's great that you want to take on that
Yeah.
challenge.
Yeah.
Good topic I wanted to talk about next, coach, is, given that your parents have done a lot in sports and particularly your mom played on the LPGA tour, you mentioned your late start in golf and that your parents wanted, your start in golf to come from you and not from them. So how important was that your parents, weren't forcing you to play golf? They weren't like, my daughter has to play golf, given that I played on the LPGA tour, but they were, pretty, they just wanted, golf to come from you. How important was that for you that they weren't demanding or forcing you into golf, but they wanted it, basically to come from you?
Yeah, it was so important. They really encouraged both my brother and I to make our own decisions growing up, and sometimes that probably led us down some challenging paths, but it also helped both of us, I think, get to where we are today. Both Chase and I are now coaches at a really elite level, and so knowing that they gave us that power to choose what we wanted to do, and even, I mean, I played field hockey in middle school, and I mean, my parents probably knew that was never going to come to anything being from Texas, but I was like, hey, I want to try this sport. And they said, go for it. And I think that they have been in that mindset for a long time of, expose our kids to a lot of different things, and then something's going to stick that they really love. And so for me, it just took a little longer to get to that point. But I know for my brother too, like he's been in basketball his whole life, and a lot of moments of along his journey have helped him get to where he is today. But I think knowing that we have that support from our parents our whole lives has really given us the freedom. I mean, I was an assistant coach at 24, and a lot of my friends from high school were starting law school and, starting their master's in accounting and doing really important things. And I was like, this is my passion. And our parents never forced us to go do something that we weren't passionate about. So, yeah, I mean, my advice to any parents that are listening would be stoke the passions of your kids, and they'll be rewarded later in life, knowing that they have your support.
Yeah. So you mentioned that really your only opportunity to play college golf is at the College of Charleston, in Charleston, South Carolina. So just tell me about your time at, College of Charleston. I believe you redshirted your first year. So just tell me about your time at, College of Charleston, how that was impactful for you, given that that was basically one of your only opportunities, given your late start in golf, and then to just talk about your transition into coaching after playing college golf.
Yeah, I did redshirt my freshman year, and that was something that Coach Jamie and I talked about very early on. He knew that I wasn't ready, or he knew that maybe my scores wouldn't have been at a level to be competitive in the lineup yet. And so the way he described it to me was like, I don't want to waste a year of eligibility while you're 18. I want to see what you're capable of when you're 22. And so I'm really grateful for that, because that was really that third and fourth year were the years that I really kind of came into a consistent piece of our College of Charleston lineup. But even before then, and something that I try to talk to our players a lot is like every player has a role to play. It doesn't matter if you're in the lineup, it doesn't matter if you're like technically the last person on the roster. Like there's a lot of ways you can make an impact. And in those years where I wasn't necessarily contributing to our lineup, I knew that I like be the best teammate that I could. Anybody needs a ride, I've got you. If the school needs someone to call people to donate money, I got like sign me up. And so I was really pushed out of my comfort zone because growing up with these other sports, like I was the captain of my teams, or I really was the best, even on my high school golf team, shooting in the 80s was still the best at that level. So to go from a position where like I could have stepped in and felt like I had the world at my feet, I really chose to just like be all in and whatever the team needed me to be. And I think that paid off in the end when my teammates were counting on me, or they were when we were counting on each other in the lineups, they knew they could depend on me. And even if my scores hadn't always been there, like they knew that I was going to fight to the end. They knew that I was always going to give my best. Because even when I wasn't in the lineup, I was doing that behind the scenes. And so grateful for my time there. I definitely know I would not be in coaching if I wasn't there. And actually, my coaching career got started there. 2 years after I graduated, Jamie brought me on as like a volunteer coach. And so I got to kind of see the ins and outs of hosting tournaments, running practices. Didn't do a ton of recruiting just because the restrictions from the NCAA were pretty clear there that you could only have two coaches. But as far as like day-to-day stuff with the team and running the tournaments, I really got a big look into that. So after that year, when more full-time positions were available, I really felt ready. And so I'm grateful that I was able to get my career started there at a place that was very special to me.
Yeah, so you've coached at a lot of places, College of Charleston and your young career, College of Charleston, Campbell, East Carolina, and now at Charlotte for a few years. Just tell me about, uh, particularly your head coaching time at East Carolina, just how that's prepared you for, being the head coach now at Charlotte, and also being around like your father coached a lot, just, being around like your father and other things like that, how that's helped you as a head coach now.
Yeah, I guess like I'll start chronologically because I think that'll make it easier. But I mean, growing up around the Spurs organization in the 90s and the early 2000s is like gold. I mean, there's no replacing the lessons that I learned from watching players like Tim Duncan, watching relationships build with coaches like Greg Popovich and Tony Parker. I mean, he came there, he was this scrawny, like 17-year-old, and Pop was really hard on him. And most people don't really know that, but he knew that this kid needed to be pushed to be the leader that he ended up becoming. And so to get, I mean, a front row seat's an exaggeration, but to get to see that and to see that dynasty work based on principles of like selflessness and servant leadership and treating your teammate better than yourself, I think really helped me in all of my sport, like team sports growing up. But then when I got into college golf, it's a weird space to be like an individual sport in a team setting. Like at the end of the day, everybody's kind of still focused on how did I shoot today? But you've got a team score also. And so I think that experience or seeing those, important principles play out has definitely helped me shape my coaching philosophy from when I was an assistant and more so just doing that on the internal side of like, this is the coach that I'm going to be to when I was at ECU and going, how am I gonna, you know, set the stage for now being the leader of a team. And I'm really grateful for my time at East Carolina. My first year there was when COVID hit, so it just felt like I was like the phrase drinking from a fire hose. I mean, there was just like one thing after next that really felt like I was being put to the fire early. But I'm grateful for those years because it did show me how to be like a good communicator and how to really pour into a team that was going through a lot. And so, just managing things that are out of your control and really just trying to keep focus on what you can control within your team. So, um, we went through a lot there with my time at East Carolina, but I also got to learn from myself, like what worked, maybe what didn't work with me at the helm. And over the last year when Coach Ryan Ashburn Cody was getting engaged and thinking about what the next steps were, we weren't sure if it meant she was staying or if she wasn't. And when when that decision was made for her to go, I really had to dig deep of, do I want to be a head coach again? It was kind of nice being an assistant and not having to make all the decisions. But this summer when I was going through the interview process, I was really challenged to evaluate like what would it look like differently under my leadership instead of Ryan's, and it really wasn't all that different, and we were pretty aligned on mostly everything, but her and I are very different people, so it did cause me to kind of look at like what does it look like when I'm now the head coach. And I'm grateful that the team's bought into that. We have 7 returners, and so they could have easily been like, this isn't what we signed up for with Ryan, and you're changing some things, but they really bought into the changes that we did make and the adjustments that we wanted to make to hopefully see our team be in the right spot by the end of the season. And I'm grateful for their buy-in. I'm grateful that they've, taken a liking to Coach Rory Weinfurther as well. Like she's been on our staff now a couple months, but she's really connected with each player on our team. I think every one of them enjoys having her around in practice, enjoys having her walk with them in a tournament setting as well. So, they've really adopted her as much as me in the new roles that we both have this season.
Yeah. And Coach Holland, on this question, just what do you enjoy most about coaching, and what did it mean to you in June to be named the new head coach at Charlotte?
Phew. Um, Gosh, I think back so much to how special my college experience was. And so, like, being in this role as a college coach, like, my goal is just to create the best student athlete experience I can. I pray that every player that comes through our program leaves knowing who they are and really confident in what they bring to the world. And so, like, my role as a coach is to foster great experiences and relationships both on and off the golf course. Like, I don't know if you can see, but like we keep chairs in our office that are always open for when our team wants to come in and chat, whether it's stuff about golf or stuff not about golf. And I always want our players to feel like this is a safe space for them. So yeah, it's great. I mean, people always ask like, do you like being a coach? And I'm like, it's the greatest profession in the world. I get to be at a golf course for my 9 to 5. And even though it's not a 9 to 5, it's still pretty awesome.